What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on quarter windows. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about restoring quarter windows. There's been a couple posts on Facebook recently, about restoring quarter windows, and I don't want to say they're making a big deal out of it, but it's really a lot more simple than you guys think. Yes, there are a million ways to do this. A lot of people do it wrong, in my opinion. I wouldn't use body fillers or anything like that to fill in all of the pitting that you usually have on your windows. There's these windows, when you bolt them in, they flex, and just over time with the heat and the cold and all that stuff, they flex and they shrink and they expand and all this stuff. So when you use body filler on it, it just cracks, and a lot of time it's not always the body filler that cracks. It could be the primer that cracks, it could be the paint that cracks, a number of things. But I'm going to show you the way that I've done it. I've done a couple sets. I know my dad has done well over that, and we've never had any issues out of them. I'll go ahead, I'll flip the camera around, show you the windows that I'm working with here, and show you kind of my process and how I do it, and then yeah, let's go from there. Alright, so this is the passenger side window. Now, most of you guys are going to have windows that probably look something like this. I mean, this is really dry rotted through here. There's, this is a decent spot up in here. This area in here doesn't get a whole lot of sun, so most of the time they're going to be a little bit better in that area. But you can see this all around this molding. Now, this one does have the molding line still there somewhat, so I'll be able to save that. Now, some guys fill this molding line in, and that's okay. It doesn't look too bad, but to me, you need to have the molding line in there to make it look right. So that's what we're going to try to do. So steps leading up to this point: make sure you clean your glass. If you got tint on the back side that you want to take off, take the tint off, all that stuff. Clean the back side, clean the front side, and then I go ahead and I just tape mine off. This does two things. It gets you ready for masking when you go to prime these, and also we're going to sand these, and you don't want to sand on your glass, so it'll kind of protect your glass at the same time. Again, these windows flex, so what you want to use as far as primer is a good 2K primer, kind of like what I've got here. Now, this isn't the best of the best or nothing like that. This is actually a very affordable 2K primer. Now, I think this primer comes in around like $80 to $90 a gallon with the hardener. It mixes 5-to-1, which is a little different than most. But it seems to work pretty decent. Now, like I said, the primer really isn't crucial in what brand of primer or anything like that you use. Just make sure you use a good 2K primer. That way you can fill in all of those bad pits and stuff like that. Now, this is the most important part of all of it. It's your urethane flex additive. This is so you add this to the primer once you mix it up, and that allows the primer to flex with the molding so it doesn't crack. That is the most important step. If you do not add flex agent, I don't care how good it is, it will crack. Eventually, they all do. This is a window that was painted before, painted on the car. If you guys remember, we broke the passenger's window putting it in because they had siliconed it in the last time. That's another thing. Don't silicone your windows in, guys. They're held in with butyl. Put them back in with butyl. That way, if you got to take them out ever, you can. So anyway, this one's a little bit worse. What you're seeing here is actually a lot of fish eyes. So whenever they painted this, I'm sure they didn't clean the moldings very well, and they just painted right over it, and well, it fish-eyed. That's okay. We're just going to 220 all of this down. Same with that one. Same process on both windows. We're going to take some 220, smooth it out as good as we can get it, and then it doesn't have to be perfect. This window is actually not terrible. This is a good start. We will go ahead and sand our line a little bit more, just to make that a little bit more defined. So we'll hit this with 220, and then we'll clean them up really good. I go ahead, I use window cleaner on all of my stuff before I paint it. What is it? The Sprayway glass cleaner is what I use on everything. Stuff works awesome. So I'll spray that with window cleaner, and then I'll take my heat gun and just heat up the whole molding around it, because these moldings, this one not so much, since it's already been painted, it won't hold anything. But this one for sure, all of these pockets, if you spray this down with glass cleaner or any type of cleaning product, it will hold it inside of it. So you want to go ahead and hit that with a heat gun to kind of evaporate all that stuff out of there. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to hit these with some 220. I'll show you guys what they look like afterwards, and then we're going to prime them, and I'll show you what that looks like too. So hang with me. All right, you guys, went ahead, got these sanded down 220. The lighting is not the best in here. I went ahead and closed the garage door. A little breezy out there, but you can see we still have all of the, you know, a lot of the pits and the scratches and all that type of stuff going on. Now, this one, the line is not amazing right here. What I did, and you can kind of make these lines too. What I did was I took some 40 grit sandpaper and just really lightly went on that line until I made a good little, you know, nice divot into that, where that line used to be, and then just went up 40 to 80 grit to then finalized it with 220, and that got that a lot better. Now down in here it was pretty good, so we just kind of refined that a little bit with 80 grit, and then went back over it with some 220 just to kind of make sure that that line is present. As far as that goes though, it was really the only thing that I did that I didn't really talk about. Now, obviously this is going to be, all of this stuff is just going to be filled in with primer. I'm not using any filler on this. We talked about that. But believe it or not, most of this, you know, I'd say a good 90% of this will all fill in. And then we're going to block it out again, and anything that's left over, we can prime it again and, you know, get them really, really nice. Nothing's ever perfect, but these should look really, really good when we're done with them. So I'm pretty happy. We still have a lot of, you know, scuffs and stuff like this. Some of this deeper stuff, the primer's not always going to fill that in. I mean, that's pretty deep. Now, you could use a little bit of filler like in a deep divot like that. The primer will come close to getting it out. So maybe on your second pass, it'll fill it in with primer. But if you wanted to only do this one time, you could put a little bit of filler in that little crevice right there, and then primer it, 220 block it, and then scuff it and probably paint it. And they would look better than probably 80% of the windows that you see out there on Foxbody cars. Either way, we're going to mix up some primer, get these things primed up. I'll probably put at least 3 to 4 coats on these, good heavy coats on them. The first coat will be a light kind of tack coat, just to make sure that the primer lays down good. All right, y'all, they're primered. Just got done probably about 15 minutes ago. They're still a little bit wet. As you can see, there's still imperfections you can see in the reflection there. Like I said, this is that divot that I was talking about. You can kind of still see it. I'll think about what I want to do with this. If I want to add maybe just a tiny little bit of filler on that little divot and then block them out. That way everything kind of sands evenly. That's what I'm thinking about right now. A little tiny little sag run here because I triple coated this on my last pass. Had a little bit left in the gun, didn't want to waste it, so not a big deal. This is the one that didn't have paint on it. You can see this one's a lot smoother because it was painted. It almost acted like a primer on the molding already. And that's a single stage paint, so not too bad. This is the one that I told you guys the line wasn't really as good in here, and you can see it's a little faint, but it's still there. That's the point. So overall, they're not too bad. They should block out really nicely. We'll see how they block, and that'll kind of determine if we need to do another good heavy coat of primer on them, or if we can block them out with like some 320 and then scuff them. And we could also do like another little coat of sealer on it and then trim black, or if they're good enough you can just scuff them and trim black them. I went ahead in between the first and second coat of primer. I mixed up a little bit more primer than I needed, and I don't like wasting stuff, like I said. So I went ahead and grabbed the other two moldings and went ahead and scuffed them, cleaned them, or 220'd them, scuffed them, cleaned them, and threw them up here. It took me 10 minutes to do both of them, so really doesn't take all that long. 10 minutes is the amount of time that I wait in between coats anyway, so it's perfect. Like I said, these turned out pretty good. They're still, if you catch the lighting just right, you can kind of see those right there. But overall these will block out really good. This one has like one coat of primer on it. This one has 2 coats of primer on it because this was the worst one. This one actually had some pretty good paint on it. I wasn't even going to primer these. I was just going to scuff them and shoot them, but I figured what the heck, why not? All right, got some extra primer in the gun. This is the second one. Like I said, this one really was pretty nice. I wasn't really going to even prime this one. Like I said, this one though does have a couple little nicks and stuff in it. I'm really not worried about that. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. We're still working on these quarter windows. I don't know where I left off on them. I think I had just primed them. I'm going to flip the camera around, show you guys where I'm at, what step I'm going to go to next, and then we'll discuss all that. Let me turn it around. Okay, so this is the passenger side quarter window, the one that probably is going to look like most of the ones that you guys have. I already sanded the driver's side, but I didn't want to show that one because that one was already painted. A lot of times your guys are just going to be bare rubber. That's what this one was when I started with it. So once you get to this point, like I said, this is just primered. Same condition it was in. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Same condition it was in when I primered it. Now what I'm going to do is just put some guide coat on it. This is almost empty. I wouldn't use this on any other trim. Definitely not what I use traditionally for guide coat, but you can use any spray paint that you want. Just kind of, it's a little heavier than you want, but it'll get the job done. Basically, you just want a thin layer of guide coat on there. That way you can sand them down. Now, that stuff dries pretty quick too. That's why I like using it. What I do is I'll take a red Scotch-Brite and just cut it to the size of my sandpaper, because you can use just the sandpaper folded up, but you got to use kind of light pressure. The good thing about this Scotch-Brite being in the middle here is it acts as like an interface pad where you can put some pressure on it and not actually dig into the primer. So this is kind of what our windows look like. I guess I'll just start in an area and show you guys what you should be looking for. If you watch any kind of body working videos at all, you'll kind of pick up immediately what we've got going on here. Remember, there's no filler on these quarter windows at all. This is just straight primer. 3 good heavy coats of primer on here. And as you can see already, so this is just real quick. So all this right here, this is all your low spots. All this black that's left over here. Now we're just going to start sanding on this until we can get those to go away. This one actually sanded out way better than I thought it was going to. This is my first time using this type of 2K primer, or this brand, and it actually does pretty well. So a couple little minor burn throughs here on this bottom edge. That's pretty common, but you can see all the areas where, you know, you would typically have a lot of the dry rot and deterioration on this window is now gone. So this is that area we were sanding where it had a bunch of highs and lows and nastiness. This is all cut down nice and flat. There's a little burn through right here on the edge, not a big deal at all. Honestly, this window's nice enough to where I could just trim black it and it would look perfectly fine. which we still haven't decided. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. The other one's got a bigger of a burn through spot, and it's really just that one spot right there where that divot is. But this one actually looks really nice. Now, one thing I would say that could use a little bit of improvement on this window if you wanted to. This one, the line right here is really kind of faint. It's not super pronounced. That's just the drawback of some of these windows when they deteriorate here in this area. Without putting like some sort of flexible filler and recreating that line, you can get it pretty decent, about to like what this is. But if it's, you know, almost dry rotted into one smooth area right here, it's kind of hard to get it to come back. Now, what I did with this one is I took 80 grit, or I actually took 40 grit and ran it down in this crevice a bunch of times, and then I went back over with 80 before I primed everything. Did the same thing all the way down this line. You see how nice this line is all the way down here. So that looks pretty good. Let's see. You guys can see this edge. Typically they have a lot of, you know, right here in this corner. There is a couple like little maybe minor pinholes. But honestly, the way that trim black kind of sprays out, like might be a little pinhole right there. I'm not worried about that at all. This looks pretty good. Now, let's see. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty happy with everything. Like I said, I will take this masking off and remask it before I paint it, just to make sure I can razor blade this window and get any overspray that happened when I primed them the first time off of the window. And then we'll probably, I don't know yet. I might just trim black them and see what it looks like. The good part about trim black is if you don't like the way that it looks, you can wait and scuff it back down and reshoot it with trim black. The one benefit of sealing them, I would say, is that it gives you a nice uniform even surface to apply that trim black onto. But it's more product that you have to use more time, so you just kind of juggle all of that. Technically more cost. But overall, y'all, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I'm gonna get these painted, and I'll show you what they look like when I'm done. What's up, y'all? So I went ahead and got the windows painted, and along with the other trim that we primered the other day. Everything went pretty smoothly. I think the windows look pretty good, all things considered. I'll go ahead and turn the camera around, let you guys look for yourselves, and tell me what you think. All right, so here's the driver's side. Pretty good. So I decided not to seal these. I just trim blacked them to see what they would look like. And I'm pretty happy overall. There's a little bit right here. I had that burn through. You can kind of see a little bit right there. Not too bad. There's a little pinhole right there. Here's where I had my little, that deep gouge. That's pretty much all that's left from that. There's a little one right here. Now the reason why, let's see. Okay, yeah, we're good. I haven't taken the tape off of these yet. That way if I see anything else, I can hit it with the trim black really quick and I'll be good to go. But everything looks pretty good. The big thing with spraying these windows, guys, is trying to make sure you get all along inside the, like on the edges here. That's kind of hard because trim black doesn't cover the best. Like right here, that's what I was messing with. There's a kind of light spot right here. I'll probably hit that with the trim black really quick. Here's the passenger side, sorry. So they turned out pretty nice. This one actually looked really good. And this is the one that was not painted before. So sometimes stuff being painted is good, sometimes it's not. It depends on how well it was painted. But overall, they look very nice. This is the spot where I had a little burn through. You can kind of see a little bit of difference in color there. Not terrible though. But overall, guys, these windows, when you put them on the car and you put all the other trim up against them, man, they're going to look awesome. I'm really happy with the way that they turned out. I did go ahead and I just sprayed this. I know I talked about taping this up for primer. When I go ahead and trim black it, that trim black is so thin, I just go ahead and paint it with it. Makes it easier. So we're going to go ahead, probably get that a little bit. And then, yeah, take this masking off of here and they'll be ready to put on the car, which is exciting stuff. So here's the trims. Like I said, these are Ford OEM trim. I personally like to save them if I can. 2K primer, scuff, wet sand, yada yada yada. Trim black, yeah, looks good. So drip rail moldings, so they turned out pretty good too. There's a couple little nicks in this one, but overall not too bad. Oh, this one's got a little nick here. These are original trims. So did the mirrors too while I had them. I'll put like the spray can lid on the mirror cap itself if you don't want to tear them apart, and then you can kind of set them up like that on the mirror face, and then you can spray the outside of the mirror, and then once that's dry you can take the cup off and kind of move the lens around and spray the inside of it. So without having to take the whole thing apart. That's really about the best way you can do it. So this one looks pretty good. Now this one does have a little bit of it kind of uplifting a little bit here, which not the end of the world. However, it just depends on how you want to, you know, finish out the car. This I can live with for knowing that it's going to be a nice Ford OEM molding. Like, yeah, there's some imperfections in it. This one I actually might, tomorrow, we'll see. I might take some 320 to this one and just try to smooth this out. There's a little run right here that it looks like I didn't get all the way. So I'll probably do that and then reshoot that molding. Not a big deal. Said I'm not perfect, y'all. There's stuff that I miss. So a couple little nicks here. So, but overall, I'm really happy with how these turned out. They're definitely plenty usable for the car that they're going on. Probably nicer than 90% of the quarter windows that are out there. I know that there's a guy on Facebook that's restoring them. I'm sure he does a great job. I've never dealt with him personally. I just wanted to let you guys, you know, kind of show you guys this process and show you that it's really not rocket science. You know, sand the molding, put primer on it, sand the primer, and paint them. I get that not everybody has the tools or the supplies or the, you know, the patience even to do this type of stuff, but you know, this is the little stuff, right? The stuff that once your car's painted and you look at everything as a whole, you're like, man, you know, it makes a difference. So that's all I pretty much have for today. I'm probably going to go ahead and fix that molding right now, actually, because it's going to bother me if I don't. So I'm going to fix that right now. But I appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with me, subscribing, commenting, all the stuff. So I'll see you guys in the next one.